And it does go back to that because that is how we started. It was just, telling stories around campfires. And that is really cool. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Alice Isn't Dead and Within the Wires comes the return of Unlicensed, their critically acclaimed Audible original.
Let's get into the interview. Between Scare Tactics and Unlicensed, you've really been keeping busy. And I know you were first on the Welcome to Night Vale series, but what's it been like to get your own series in the form of Unlicensed?
Incredible. It's awesome. I love Joseph and Jeffrey and how they write and the writers that they found to bring on for, our side project of Unlicensed. I am, it's really an honor, it's really cool to have been fans of them and fans of Night Vale and to have, just DM'd hoping that I could, be a part of it, that they would give me a try. So then they get a try and then for them to like you enough to, not only find space for you in another show that they've been thinking about, that they've been planning for years, so much time and energy, these writers, these artists put into their work. But that it's also kind of tailor-made for me like that. It's just, I cannot get over what a gift it is. So I'm just kind of gobsmacked that I get to do it. And I hope that I do a good enough job because to me, it's a really big deal.
Well, you do a great job. And I really, really enjoyed the podcast. And I love that audio series are making this comeback through the podcast format. It's like a radio play. So as an actor, what's it like to not have to worry about the visual side and just allow your words to help provide the texture of the world and your character?
There's definitely a little bit of a learning curve when you take away a lot of the tools and you put everything into the voice. But once you learn that and you're able to start testing, well, how far can I bring people along with me into this story? How many emotions can I convey to keep them on the edge of, their car seat, as they're driving, is really an awesome challenge. And for me, like what I like about acting is the challenge.
Even in animation, there's some kind of visual that takes over for the audience. So here it's just all imagination, which I think gets back to back to our roots. So I love how much just it allows. I feel like after listening to an episode, you almost feel like invigorated because you have to kind of do a little exercise with your brain.
That's really cool. I totally get that. And I think just to touch on what you said about, oral tradition. And it does go back to that because that is how we started. It was just, telling stories around campfires. And that is really cool. Thank you for reminding me of that because that is what it is. It is getting back in touch with the roots of performing.
I have to ask too, have you recorded for season 3 yet?
I have. I've recorded for season 3. We're like midway through it. It's what we do in season 2. I couldn't believe what they decided to additionally put us through in 3. Because in 2, Molly's just like left on her own because Lou is in jail. So I have like barely any training. I'm trying to do these things, but I'm just like barely treading water, so that in and of itself was really fun to play with, that kind of trying to be good at something, but like knowing you're just, bluffing the whole time.
Moving on from Unlicensed, you've also been in the new Scare Tactics. That seems like such a fun job. Were you familiar with the original incarnation?
Of course I grew up watching that, like me and like my friends were part of that, early YouTube. So going on there and looking at Rat Monster and, memeing that, are you scared? You should be. you're on scare tactics. And that was like a huge part of like my growing up. So when the opportunity came to be a performer on the show, especially at a time when like it was really hard with like writer strike and everything going on, it was really challenging. And so when the opportunity came my way, it was a breath of fresh air to not only get to perform again, but to do something so different and so outside of my comfort zone that I couldn't think of how I had acted before. You know what I mean? It wasn't like doing a narrative series. It was a completely different thing. It's performance art in a lot of ways. My heart rate, like I'm surprised I'm able to like sit here. The levels of anxiety and like excitement that I was feeling, just waiting there for people to come up and then thinking, how long can I keep them here? How much story can we create before the final scare? How long can we pull this out? I'm sure I'm going to go, prematurely white.
Well, and I've always wondered how much prep goes into each scare. Are you like having to do a bunch of background work on like the situation you're in? Because obviously improv requires a lot of like being able to just bounce off of whatever's happening in the moment. So I imagine that being very difficult.
It is, and we could always use more time. We always want more time. What was awesome doing this is like a lot of my stuff was with this really great actor like Randy Havens and like John Barrick, and they're excellent at improv. So the three of us, when your personalities click, that does a lot of the work for you. So I was really glad that we kind of had our camaraderie as like the ace in the pocket. But some days we had the day of prep. At most we would have like 3 days knowing something, but then as much as you prep, you just have to be prepared to throw it all out the window because we can't prep for just humans. We got no idea what they're going to do. We are unpredictable. I will tell you that. So it's like you don't want to get too stuck in any like one idea. Like and I think that's the being that flexible is the real challenge.
Well, and with that unpredictable side, have you guys had any of these that just didn't end up working that had to be scrapped?
I don't think so. But like I wasn't, I don't know. I don't know all of them, but like I don't think so. Like there might be like a tiny margin, but like the crew and the creative team were so on top of it. Like all of the ones that I was in, we got it in one. I think we did like two on like one of them, but yeah, they had their stuff down. So I'd be surprised if any didn't work yet.
Well, I have to draw attention to your awesome t-shirt because I actually have the exact same one, and I regret not wearing it because I am a massive Mike Flanagan fan. Mike Flanagan, I think, is one of the greatest like filmmakers, auteurs working today. So you've appeared in many Mike Flanagan projects, and you also appear in an episode of what is probably my favorite series from last year, Fall of the House of Usher. So,
thank you.
What was it like to be part of such an insane episode and just be involved in Mike's, I guess, just repertoire of actors that he pulls from?
So many things here. Like I couldn't agree more with everything you just said about him. I'm just so on that same page. That you would include me in the repertoire of his actors is like, you have made my weekend. Because I don't think I'm quite there yet. I think I probably have like a little more to do, but I love it. Working with Mike is always a great time. He is so good at communicating what he wants while allowing you to bring your own personality to the work. And that episode, playing Jenny, working with Surian and JR, being that little. See, to me, it's all about the camaraderie. right? I go back to like my scare tactics and my usher. Like when you get each other and you work in that kind of ensemble, like for me, that's my favorite thing. Anyway, uh, I couldn't believe the acid rain death. Like, because I got to read like all the episodes and I loved like one after the other. My favorite, I love when she's the cat. I love that episode. Like him going crazy. Like I was just cackling. And like, closing my eyes. So, but the acid rain and getting to like go into that environment and be a club kid for a little bit again. Cause like I'm a married woman now, but like my teen years, like I was going to Electric Daisy and like, warehouse parties. Like there was a little bit of Ginny in me. I had a really good time. But you hang up your neons and your pacifiers. So getting to revisit that and on screen was, and in that way, because that was like the perfect party, right? Like none of the parties are ever actually like that. This was like high quality dream version of a party. So getting to do that with that music and then getting to do that reaction because the rain was practical. So like even just doing that, being a part of a dance and then just getting soaking wet, just the whole thing was in the best way was like truly Hollywood magic.
Well, and what's it like too? Because I know I had talked to, I believe, Rahul, and it was probably a year before House of Usher had come out, so everything was very, very secretive, and I couldn't get a lick of information out like at that time from him. And so I was curious, like as an actor in that project, was it difficult to not be able to say anything about what is coming when you're being asked in an interview like this, when it's like, hey, what's happening with this? And then you can't, you know the amazingness that's coming, but you have to just be like, I don't know, just wait and find out. Is that difficult?
Of course. Of course it's difficult. Like I'm a fan. So I want to talk about it. I want to tell you everything I just got to tell you. But everything has its time and place. So as much as I would have wanted to tell you that, during, I get to talk about it now.
Yeah.
And it's actually more fun to talk about it now when people have seen it. Because beforehand, when you talk about it, I could never describe it as well as what you got to see. And I think it's more fun. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, is it more fun hearing the story in that order?
No, I absolutely agree, because I think that sometimes, even if we were doing this for Fall of the House of Usher, we would have to then not talk about the spoilers of the scene. We wouldn't be able to talk about the acid rain. Like there's so much that you can't actually discuss when you're supposed to be discussing it, because you have to then tease it for the people to then want to watch it. So it is very difficult. But no, I completely agree. It's so much more interesting to know this after the context of seeing the show itself.
Yeah, right on.
With that in mind, I've been looking forward to Life of Chuck ever since it was announced, and even picked my boss's brain apart about it because he got to see it at, I believe, TIFF. And so is there anything that you can tease about your role in Life of Chuck?
I love the Life of Chuck. I love it very much. Have you read the short story? I'm just curious.
I have not. As soon as I was told that it's like Mike's version of like the Shawshank Redemption in terms of the heart and soul, I was like, okay, I don't need to know anything more. I'm sold.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I love that. Well, and that's kind of a pretty good segue into what I can say about the character, which is she's love.
There we go. And we know you play Chuck's mother in the film, so I think that if we can put two and two together about that, I cannot wait. That is like one of my most anticipated films. So
is there a performance you're excited to see from it?
Well, yours, of course, but
okay. Well, besides mine.
I mean, I love Tom Hiddleston in anything. Karen is great in everything she does. Mike Flanagan is able to bring such performances out that I'm impressed with anything that he does, which I have to bring up the fact that, because I didn't realize until doing research for this interview, that your husband actually wrote on what I consider to be one of the greatest pieces of fiction, anything of all time, Midnight Mass. So
I agree with you. I love that show. I love that show.
Like, when you know that, when you get to see some of the behind the scenes of a project like Midnight Mass or Life of Chuck or Fall of the House of Usher, what do you, as an actor, what are you hoping that comes from the project the most? Are you hoping that it's just accepted for what it is? Are you hoping that it then springboards off of, like, it becomes something more, like becomes something greater, is able to springboard into other roles? Like, are you just looking at the individual project and hoping that for success from that? Or are you looking at it more as this, if this does well, this helps out all these great people that did wonderful work in this? I'm always curious as to I don't know, the different reactions that people have.
Yeah, well, because they're all valid. For me, the last thing you said, like that part, because for me, something that I'm trying to do, and very much how I feel about all the things I've done with Mike. When I'm brought something and I've gotten to that place where I've been cast and the director, wants me there, what I want from the final product is for their vision to have made it to screen. I look for them to be happy. It's not how I've always viewed stuff. I started as a child actor, so I didn't really view anything in any type of sophisticated way, thank God. But now I really find myself, and I think it's come from the closeness of the relationships and getting to have more artists as friends and hearing how much they really care and how long they have these ideas, because for the actor, even if, 6 months, it's a long time. But for the actor, 6 months, that's the director, writer's 3 years. Like there's so much. And so for me, I've really kind of come around to my viewpoint being, did my director's vision make it to the screen? And if they are happy, I'm at ease.
We're Havakura. It's a tribe of female assassins who
don't wear clothes? Are you kidding me? Do you see what she's wearing?
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Not that bad.